There we go. Tim, does that remind you of your days at Heaven nightclub? Big nights out?
Yes, Heaven and the Planet.
The Planet?
The Planet Night. You know, it's still empty there on Peary Street. No one's moved in. No one can replace the Planet nightclub.
I don't know. I think I preferred Heaven. One night in Heaven.
Yeah. Heaven was the early one. I remember soon after year 12 us lining up to get into Heaven and you still having your brain full of everything from your exams. So just bragging to another girl, just going through Shakespeare lines and physics equations and stuff, just pouring them out. I was just amazed.
It was another quiet night at Heaven for Brady, that's for sure.
Well, we were more dancers than anything. That was what we...
Yeah.
It was like the final scene of Footloose, really, when we got on the dance floor. People just parted out of the way.
Exactly. I mean, I so rarely got to interact with people at the nightclub because I was always up on those podiums dancing on poles and stuff.
That's right. We did get a bit carried away when it became like the final scene of Dirty Dancing, though, when you used to jump into my arms and I'd lift you up high over the crowd.
I always trusted you with the lift. Because we practiced in the water, but we'll come to that later.
That's right.
So anyway, that 90s dance version, it's the second time we've had a dance version. No offence to the previous one, I think that one was slightly better, but it's an iterative process. That one came from Billy. I'll just read what Billy wrote with his 90s dance version. Hey, legends. I like that he started with legends.
Oh, yeah.
You obviously heard about us at Heaven.
Yep.
Hey, legends. My name is Billy. I'm 23 and I'm from the 8.3 out of 10 city of Canberra. I run a small record label called Warm Water and I'm an artist manager for two awesome bands. One's called Archie, the other's called Sputnik Sweetheart. They've got nothing on Tim's solo skills, but worth a squiz if you're into some good Australian indie rock. I've heeded your calls for a more techno-inspired rendition of the Sofa Shop jingle and created this 90s noughties electronic dance throwback tune, complete with tacky synths and shameless techno build-ups. Please enjoy. Thanks for creating such a great podcast. It's a stressful time for the music industry right now, and the banter you two provide gives me a welcome respite from a pretty turbulent world. Love and lols, Billy.
Wow, there we go. I tell you, he's a born record PR guy, isn't he? Getting the band names in there as well. Bit of promo.
Check him out. Here's a flyer.
Good work. Absolutely.
Also, Tim, it must mean a lot to you knowing that you're helping the record industry with your work, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I was afraid I was dominating it, becoming a bit of a monopoly there for a while. And it's like no one was listening to anything else. But I'm encouraged to see that I'm inspiring a new generation coming through. That's
You
great.
have become a bit like the U2 sort of, you know, a bit too big for your boots, bit of a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. I mean, I've been busy off world changing as well. And saving the planet. But I get back to the music and bam.
You just set me up to play these things, man.
No.
I don't even have to try.
Do you know what I'd love? I'd love to get a record deal. Not even for anything, just to say, I've finally got a record deal. Because I've read hundreds of biographies where the whole first third of the book is about trying to get a record deal. And then you finally land one, you know. And I just love to be able to say, I've landed a record deal with... What's the name of his record label? It's a Warm?
It was Warm Water.
Warm Water. Yep, I'm signed to Warm Water. Yeah, that's it.
Billy... I mean, could he make the hint any more obvious?
And do you know what I'd love to do? I'd love to get a really bad deal. So I could be like, like Prince and everyone who's like signed to a bad deal for their first 4 records and they never make any money. And then they, you know what I mean? Have to break off. And I could write slave on my face like Prince did. And then that's what I'd like, a bad record deal. Just so I could, I'm trapped in this record deal. Just for the experience. That'd be cool.
Did you not consider me saying to you that I wanted to do a podcast with you to be your first record deal?
No, I just figured I'm helping you out with something, really. Giving you a go, lending my name, but...
Lending your name.
No. Anyway, That was a cool version. I do like that. I like
It was.
Your pop music needs to be joyful. It needs to have, happiness in it, and that had joy.
I liked the little repeats. Obviously, he used Carmine Scalzi himself, the original singer, as the bassist, and I did play that version to Carmine, by the way, and he really liked it. So, just a couple of little bits of follow-up. Last episode, we did our Unmade brand ambassador deals, Tim for Burgerings and me for the Oral-B Pro Expert Pulsar toothbrush. You've been a bit of a light touch on the ambassadorship so far, I've noticed, Tim.
It was a bit difficult because we kind of went into this lockdown here in Adelaide all of a sudden, and shopping was scarce. We were grabbing essentials, and I didn't crazy me get burger rings on the first trip to the overcrowded supermarket.
Right.
But there seemed to have a big run on burger rings. They weren't there. There was plenty of toilet paper, but there was no burger rings.
People were just leaving with trolleys full to the brim with packets of burger rings.
So the rules from the government was that one person could leave the house for one visit to the supermarket, and that was my wife. So I said to her, whatever you do, like with a serious face, whatever you do, and she's looking at me, oh, what's this? I said, make sure you get burger rings. And her face just...
Nice.
No.
Did the government introduce any kind of limit on the number of packets of burger rings you could buy in one trip, or?
Oh, no, they didn't specify it, thank goodness. So, but she still only brought the one pack. So
She bought one pack?
Yes. I know. She doesn't understand influencing like we do. She's not even on social media, so she doesn't know how much sway we are able to influence.
Have you eaten any of those burger rings?
Well, no, because I want to use them for influencing. I mean, I will. I guess I need to open them, take a few cool photos, like
You have to do the classic photo of a hand with a burger ring on each finger, like 5 rings on a hand.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's the classic. Good. You might want to use one of your daughters as the hand model there, though. No offence, Tim.
What's wrong with my hands? What? These... Well, are you saying because I need to take care of them because they should be insured for my guitar playing? Is that what you're inferring?
Yeah. And I'm not sure they were part of the deal as well, the ambassadorship deal. Your hands, that costs extra.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, you're a good-looking guy, Tim, but you're never going to be a hand model.
No, I'm not George Costanza. That's right. I've actually got... My hands are looking a little bit prettier than normal. I've got a little bit of nail polish on at the moment. This is another part of the lockdown where the daughters get a bit bored and I end up with a little bit of nail polish on as well, which I have to say is extremely close to Alice Blue. That nice. Alice Blue gown, for those who have listened to previous episodes. It's quite...
Blue nail polish. All right, we'll keep an eye... We'll let the Unmade ambassadorships run a bit longer, so keep an eye on Tim's, I don't know, social media for burger ring posts, and I'll let you know what's up with the toothbrush. I've done a couple of Instagram stories with my toothbrush.
I want to see from you. Firstly, I want to make sure there's at least one photo with it in your mouth. Like that's essential. But also the classic from behind photo. Now this was a classic ad in Australia.
This is a dentist, and we can't show you his face on television. It's a bit of an iconic ad in Australia.
Yeah.
This man is a dentist, so we can't show you his face on television. Morning, Rob. But the fact that he's brushing his teeth may prompt you to ask, what sort of toothbrush do dentists use?
He was a dentist, and we weren't allowed to see his face, but he did have a very nice back. He was a dentist who obviously spent a lot of time in the gym.
That's right, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Rob, show us. Oral-B. Preferred and used by 3 times as many dentists as any other brand of toothbrush.
Also, just a reminder if you're interested, you might want to sign up to the Unmade podcast. When Tim stops getting the giggles, you might want to sign up to the Unmade podcast Patreon, patreon.com/unmadefm. There are all sorts of reasons to do it, obviously. You can have your ideas read out on the show. You get a Sofa Shop pin. You can win a spoon. There's lots of bonus material. You can vote on titles of episodes. And most importantly, if you sign up before the end of November, you will have your name read out in our occasional epic name reading list Patreon things. I got all the words in the wrong order then, but you know what I meant.
Thanks, Yoda. That's well explained.
Patreon you should join. All right, so ideas for a podcast? I've got an idea, and this has been pre-recorded. This was an idea I had, and we recorded it while I was in Australia recently with you because I wanted to record it on location. So, well, should we just roll tape and let the idea do the talking?
Absolutely.
I'm not actually rolling tape. I'm just splicing in a digital file.
I couldn't hear any whirring in the background.
So, Tim, how's this for an idea for a podcast?
Yeah.
I'm going to call it Ocean Cast, and every episode is filmed in the water at some famous water of body in the world. You know, it could be the Dead Sea or, you know, some Pacific coast or something. Or today... Today, good timing, today, Brighton Beach in Adelaide.
You said water of body. Do you want to change it to body of water?
I don't
Doesn't
know.
matter?
I don't know. What do you think? I did mean body of water, but we'll let that go. Just to show that I'm human.
You are.
So
This is beautiful.
but what do you think of the idea for a podcast? They're going around to different places and saying, today I'm in, you know, the Black Sea. Today I'm in Sea of Galilee.
I thought it was a good idea, and then the water hit me, and it's cold.
We haven't got to that special place yet where the water gets especially cold, but as we get deeper and deeper, so Tim and I are wading out into the sea. It's getting a little bit... It's not the warmest. A lot of seaweed in the water here too. Oh! We're holding our microphones, so we mustn't go too deep, otherwise we'll have electronics issues.
I think it's a great idea. I like this idea.
Yeah.
I like.
That doesn't mean you can go.
See you later. Let's go.
No, we have to get to that special time when the water... I want to hear your voice go up. You change a few octaves.
Reaches the tender thigh.
Yeah.
Man, I've just noticed we're not between the flags from the lifeguard, so perhaps we should get out,
Yeah.
wait, and then move.
They have got the red and yellow flags out that you're supposed to swim between, and we're about 20 metres away from the safe zone where they'll come and rescue us, but... You know,
Yeah.
we're men of this. Oh, whoa!
Little wave.
That little wave just warned us that we're getting close to the special time.
Look, it's getting closer to summer, but it's not quite summer here in Adelaide. Even though
Yeah.
the sun's out, the water is crisp.
So we should be facing the waves so we see them coming, but we're trying to shelter from the wind for the microphones. If we did make Ocean Cast, what are some of the oceans and seas you'd like to podcast from? What's cold?
The one that comes to mind is the Dead Sea.
Oh, yeah.
Over in Israel, which is really quite something special. People I'm sure everyone's generally aware that it's got 6 times, I think, the normal salt level of other seas, and it's a very small sea. So you float, you sit on top.
Yeah.
And that's really quite, I was there last year, and it's really quite quirky and fun. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. You can sit up on top of the water. That would be a perfect place.
That would be good. I have been there and tasted the water, but I've not gone out and floated on it, so I do envy you that.
Do you recommend tasting the water?
Absolutely not. It tastes like battery acid. It's not just like that's a little bit too salty. Oh, they went a bit heavy on the salt there. It's like this is going to eat my tongue out of my mouth. Saltiness. Oh.
So that's
right.
Nice. What are some other bodies of water? I'm thinking, like, have you been places in the Mediterranean?
The Mediterranean. Then, that was a big wave. Mediterranean, Sea of Galilee, some of the Great Lakes maybe. They're quite cold, so that would be I think I had a graze. All right, we've got to go out a bit deeper, or we haven't been real men.
Have you been on the water at Loch Ness?
Not on the water. That's another good one. Maybe Ocean Cast is the wrong name. Maybe it's
Water of body cast?
Thank you. Now I definitely can't edit it out. We're getting a bit deeper now. We're up to a sort of mid-buttocks. Tim is looking very uncomfortable. We are.
We're...
Tim's family's here. We're waving to your very uninterested daughter. Have you been taking some pictures?
Look at that reluctant look.
Take a picture.
If people are finding it difficult to form a mental image, perhaps they'd like to put on the opening credits to Baywatch. That might help them form the image of
Got it.
what it looks like here today.
Yeah.
The family's on the beach. I can see the dog.
I thought maybe more train spotting. There's my mum. Walking towards us.
Yes.
Your wife and dog are there. Where's your mum gone?
My mum. Oh.
Your mum's here somewhere. Oh, that was a big wave. I think it's time. I think it's time to dip the tea bag.
No.
I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna risk it.
All right, we'll do it. We'll do it together.
Do it in sync. Ready?
1,
2.
Is it going to be one of those? Yeah. It's not going to be one of those. You didn't do it.
No, I'll do it.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
3. Go. Oh!
Now my mum's taking photos. Now my mum's taking photos with a better camera, so we'll wave.
Oh dear.
Oh no, she's fiddling. My mum likes to fiddle with the settings. There we go. This is the look of two men that just got very cold.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
This will end up on a calendar somewhere.
It will. Oh, there we go. I'm submerged now.
What is your favourite body of water?
Oh, good question. I like oceans. I like oceans in general over lakes and stuff, I think. I'm struggling to think, mainly because I'm just struggling to think because I'm absolutely frozen.
Is there a lake somewhere or a river even? See, that's the other thing. There's rivers.
Yeah, there's rivers. I mean, I am just struggling to think, but I also, just because I like so many, let me think. What's yours? You think of one while I... Lake's entrance?
Oh, well, obviously it would be, yeah. The Traralgon Creek. I caught my first fish in the Traralgon Creek, so that means a lot, but I wasn't actually on the water. Oh, later I was on the water. The 50-year storm is coming in.
Luckily, we should have surfed that one back.
We should have, yeah. I really love the beach at Byron Bay. We were there last year.
Yes.
And that's just a fantastic place. Beautiful.
Yep.
I stood up surfing for the first time, so that meant a lot. And it's
nice.
just a beautiful Australian beach.
I like a lake in the mountains, like when you climb mountains and you find those little lakes that form like a basin in a mountain range. I quite like those lakes.
Yep.
I love the Blue Lake in Mount Gambier.
Oh, right, yeah. I've never seen that, but everyone tells me I know, I've driven past it, if you like, so many times on the alternative road a distance from it, but I've never been there.
Crazy.
Yeah, madness.
You're missing out.
What about, this would include your podcast favourite swimming pools as well, perhaps?
Oh, well, my childhood swimming pool was the best swimming pool there ever was.
Right, yeah.
Still
okay.
is. Yeah. Some amazing things happen in that pool, like, classic catches, brilliant dives, world record attempts at swimming the furthest any human has ever swum underwater. Many unfair and cruel tortures, putting my sister under the waterfall. Like, we had this waterfall and you pressed a button and the waterfall would come down over the rocks and go into the water.
Oh yeah.
So one of us would like hold her under the waterfall so she couldn't get away. Basically, it was water torture.
Wow.
And the other one was it was water torture before water torture was frowned upon.
Before the UN stepped in.
Yeah. Yeah. So good times. Yeah. So maybe my podcast idea should go beyond that. It should go into maybe the premise is the podcast has to be recorded in water, like we are now.
Yep.
How do you find podcasting in water? Now we've been doing it for 10, 15 minutes.
It's funny, I was worried because you think you're going to drop our microphones, our recording devices, and oh dear, that's going to be hundreds of dollars and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I've not given that a second thought since I got into the water.
No.
My mind's been taken by something else.
Self-preservation, I think.
Yeah. It's very pleasant because you're out here. It's very pleasant, actually, just standing here having a chat.
We should do all our podcasts this way.
We should.
I feel like one of us should be on a door, and the other one's like protecting them, like trying to. Oh, that was a bigger wave. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mum's still photographing us, so there is going to be a calendar of pictures.
We didn't need to film it because there'll be enough photographs to string together into footage.
Yeah. Your daughter, who's been in the sea over to our left, looks like maybe she's stopping. I'm not sure.
Yeah, coming out. I reckon the Traralgon pool was close for me. The Traralgon sort of town pool.
Oh, yeah.
Very exciting because not only would we go there and play, like every day, jump off the big diving board was a big step in my childhood.
Yeah.
Basically, I learned pretty much to swim there.
Yeah.
But then we also went down there for our school swimming carnivals as well.
Yeah.
So you'd be like racing in the area where normally you'd play, and so there's so many meaning attached.
For me, that's the Marion Swimming Centre. So once or twice a year, whatever school I was at, you would have swimming lesson week where they taught you to swim and safety and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I was already a good swimmer, but it was so all kids had some water safety, so we would go there, and that was always an exciting time.
Half the excitement of the Traralgon pool was the tuck shop canteen, though, where you'd get like paddle pops and
That's more like
taking
it.
a little bit of cake.
That's more like it. All right, and we haven't even touched on the Adelaide Aquatic Centre where Tim was crowned swimming champion
of
1990. Was it 93?
93, yeah.
93. So,
That was a mighty year.
That's a whole episode on its own.
People will have probably already heard about that through their own media.
All right, well, I think that was good. Getting a wave. Should we draw this to a close and go over and say hi to your daughter who's braved it back out?
She's doing very well.
She's way more confident than us.
Oh, yes. She has decided to abide by the strange practice of swimming with a baseball cap on, which is
Well, we're all doing that.
good sun-smart activity.
Now she's throwing seaweed at us.
Oh, dear.
All right, back to the sand. Oh, you got me. You got me with the seaweed. So, Tim, have you recovered from the hypothermia yet?
Yes, I have. And I tell you, getting pretty warm now. So the idea of getting down to Brighton Beach where we recorded that sounded pretty good today.
It was bracing and refreshing, but cold water's good for you, so...
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It seems to be very cold, I find, in Adelaide. You know, it's a hot day. It can get very hot, like 45 degrees Celsius, as you know. And
yes.
But, you know, stay that way for a week. You still go in the water and it's very, very cold, which is very refreshing when it's 45, but the rest of the year it's very, very cold.
And on reflection, do you like my ocean cast idea or water cast or, you know, recording in different bodies of water all around the world?
Yeah, no, this is a good idea. It's a good example of you thinking outside the box. I think that's great. And different bodies of water, I think, is a really good twist to it. No, that's well done.
But Ocean Cast is such a good name.
Yeah, it does sound vast. It sounds like a watch, you know, like...
Oh, yeah. the new Omega Ocean Caster.
Ocean Cast, yeah. It's like James Bond's going to be wearing the new Ocean Cast in the next film.
The Ocean Cast Pulsar Pro Expert.
Nice work.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased with it. And on the actual day of recording, today as we're recording now, it's just no work for me because it's all been done already.
Yes, well done. We can get straight into talking about story blocks.
Tim, you segued to the ad.
I did, I know. I'm really coming along. Everyone...
I didn't prompt that. Tim hasn't got notes. He just felt it. He felt it was time.
I could tell. Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, it's time for story blocks. I was eager. I was at the gate going, let me in. Story blocks is a fantastic site with a universe of footage and photos and audio that you can access at any time.
Have you written this down?
No, I'm just talking.
Wow. This is incredible.
We have done this before.
But normally I do that bit. I assume you're just not listening.
Oh, sorry. No. Is this wrong? I can... Okay.
No. Do you know the website people can go to look at story blogs?
It starts with www. Is that right?
Yeah.
HTTP. No. It's... I want to say it's storyblocks.com/unmade.
Yes. That is where people should go. And unlock this universe, as Tim described it, of incredible royalty-free stock material that they can use in their creations, their websites, their videos, their podcasts, whatever you're making. But do you know what? Don't just take Tim and my word for it. Because, you know, who are we? We're just two guys. Take the word of Blair, who is an Unmade podcast listener, a civilian, who sent us a message this week, which I thought was going to be a bit of like, you know, a love letter to us, because it started off saying nice things about us, love the podcast, love all your ideas and your friendship and stuff. And I was thinking, oh, this is nice. And then suddenly Blair's message took a sharp turn, and Blair wrote, I also do enormous amounts of editing and videos for our church's student ministry. I can't tell you how many hours I've wasted sifting through and downloading YouTube videos looking for animations, sound effects, royalty-free music and stock footage. Well, after hearing you talk about story blocks for the past 8 months, I don't think it's been 8 months, but anyway, I decided to get a license for our church. Within less than 5 minutes of having the license, I accomplished what would have taken me an hour. I was able to find exactly what I needed right away. So thank you for putting a smile on my face, laughter in my heart, and pointing me towards story blocks.
Wow.
Time saved is more time spent with my students and their families. Keep it up. You both matter and make a big difference than maybe you realise. Thank you again, and God bless. Blair.
Oh, that isn't that fantastic?
Oh, no, isn't that good? When we look back at our careers, Tim, and we think about what we did for the world, we can think we introduced Blair to Storyblocks.
That's right. And we can't say he didn't thank us, because that is the most lovely, eloquent thank you to Storyblocks.
And my attitude is, in life, if you can introduce just one person to Storyblocks.
That's right.
All right. So thank you, Blair. Thank you, Storyblocks. That address again, storyblocks.com/unmade. Seriously, check them out. Fantastic, fantastic resource for both Tim and myself, and now for Blair.
Well, now it's time for...
Can I play it?
Absolutely.
Spoon of the week. Love it.
That is awesome. That is still... I was listening back to our episode the other day and checking a few things, and I came onto this part and I just giggled, and I just couldn't stop giggling over and over. It's my favourite moment. I love it.
Have you made it your ringtone yet?
No, how do I do that?
I don't know, but I did release it to Patreon supporters. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you go onto the feed there, you can download the Spoon of the Week jingle as your ringtone. I don't know, I don't know how to put it.
I'm not a patron supporter. Patron supporters of our podcast. You won't let me because you like to do secret things. So
no,
you need to send it to me.
I'm not stopping you becoming a Patreon supporter. If you sign up and want to, chip in a buck an episode or something, then you can get that ringtone.
I can do. Okay. All right. I'll do that. You told me not to once upon a time. I was all up. I like to support us in any way I possibly can, but I.
All right. Well.
I want to get the ringtone. I will be putting it on. I love it.
Maybe not for phone calls. Maybe for just... Can you set a phone so that you get a different ringtone for different people? So only when I text you, it goes... Spoon of the week.
The problem with that is that you text me more than anyone in the world, including my family. So... It would be safer to do it for everyone else instead...
You live with your family, of course they don't text you. You're locked down together.
No, I know. But we sort of have this, sort of four-way text thing. So we text everyone all the time, you know what I mean? So we all know what's going on. And even still, so I'm getting all sorts of texts that don't matter. Even still, it wouldn't be as much as, gags I get from you.
The more important question is, why am I not in that family four-way text group? I want in.
Oh, dear. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, listen, just getting back, to the spoon.
Right. We haven't even got to it at all yet, let alone get back to it.
Are you ready for me to explain and introduce this week's Spoon of the Week?
I was born ready. Hang on. It's been so long since we played the jingle. Let's get that run up again. You ready?
Let's do it.
Spoon of the week.
Well, Brady, this week's Spoon of the Week is from Singapore.
Ooh.
It really is quite a classy, beautiful piece of...
Spoonage?
Yeah, spoonage. Look, there's a few things to explain here. Look, it's beautiful and it's gold and blue.
Yeah.
It's got those sort of lovely Singaporean colours to it. The scoopy bit has some flowers in it. And now, I don't know if they are some indicative flowers of Singapore, if they're just beautiful. Are they leaves even? What do you think? Something.
I don't know. I'm looking at. I think Singapore is famous for a flower, but I don't know what one it is. So I'm just looking up what it is.
Oh, right.
Orchid. Orchid.
Ah, beautiful.
The hybrid orchid. It's an orchid, isn't it?
Oh, that's lovely. I love an orchid.
You just don't recognise one when it's enamelled on a spoon.
No, indeed. Well, it's not. I have to say they are prettier in real life than they are in the bowl of a spoon. But yeah, no, there they are. And then up the spoon it says Singapore sideways. If you hold it on a horizontal way with this goopy bit on the right, it says Singapore along the handle. And then you get up the top and you find... Now, man, is this a lion or what is this image here? Are you familiar with this national symbol of some kind?
I mean, yeah, the Singapore is very associated with the lion, isn't it?
Right.
I believe. Yeah. There's a famous statue of a lion in Singapore and stuff as well. So it's like it's the national symbol.
But it's like it's got the bottom of a fish, like it's a lion mermaid.
Yeah, I think it's called a merlion. It's a merlion. I'm looking on the internet now. I'm not pulling from my vast knowledge of Singapore.
Yes.
It's a merlion. So it is half lion, half mermaid thing, I think. I should know this. I should point out my sister and brother-in-law and nephews have lived in Singapore for a very long time, so I should know more about Singapore. I do have ties with Singapore.
Have you been to Singapore yourself?
Yes, I've been to Singapore a couple of times.
Yeah, me too. It's very neat and very warm, isn't it? That's what my impression was.
Yes, quite humid. Always rains in the afternoon. A little bit polluted, but very tidy city.
Very tidy, very neat. I sort of got that feeling, like very shopping centre-ish.
So this spoon, obviously, I mean, it doesn't look like the other spoons. It's got a bit of a different look to it, obviously, because it's come in from Asia. Do you know how this came into the Hine family collection? I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that you don't.
I don't, because...
No.
my
you never do.
The spoons are a real mystery to me as well.
Yeah.
Most of the time when I've asked Mum about them, she sort of just says, no, I don't know where that came from. But I think Dad may have just bought half these spoons at a garage sale, yard sale somewhere. I don't know, because he's just wanted as many spoons as he could get without necessarily having been to the places. I know neither of them have been to Singapore. So it's just, but they wanted a Singapore spoon, and here they have it. I know of no close friends or family members that have been to Singapore, but obviously someone has, and they've brought this back for Mum and Dad, and they've hung it on the wall.
I remember one time I was with our friend Chris, who's become known to civilians because he was the guy who had the Nikes that I wrote to Michael Jordan about. And I was once at Chris's house, and he had this trophy, reasonably impressive trophy. I can't remember if it was for cricket or football or what it was for. And I said to him, like, what's the deal with that trophy? What did you win it for? And he told me that he'd gone to the tip with his dad. His dad was throwing a bunch of stuff away, and he just saw the trophy sitting in the tip and picked it up and took it home. And it was in his bedroom.
No.
I mean, he thought it was funny too. We had a laugh about it, but he just had this cool trophy in his room, and it was like,
Oh man!
Maybe that's your dad with spoons. He probably brought people home and boasted about all the places he'd been around the world.
Maybe he did. Yes, maybe he's like, it's like,
Singapore. I always loved going to Singapore.
They're like, you must show us the photos sometime. Oh, I don't know where those photos are.
No, just got the spoon. Just the spoon.
Maybe he just, he's like, he'd just use it in front of people. Like they'd sit down for a cup of tea and he goes, just get some sugar with my Singapore spoon.
Imagine if Neil Armstrong came back from the moon and NASA were like, where's the camera? Show us all the photos. And he's like, I didn't take any photos, but check out this spoon.
This spoon's a moon spoon.
I went all the way to the moon and all I got was this lousy spoon.
That'd be pretty cool. I know when they went to the moon, they landed in different places on the moon, didn't they? So there was no chance. It's not like they left a message and then they went back and brought a message back or brought a flag back that had been there. There was none of that kind of action going on.
There was none of that. But the second Apollo mission to land on the moon. Sorry, you brought it up, so now I'm going to get all serious and interested in the moon.
No.
The second moon landing, Apollo 12, actually deliberately tried to land as close as possible to like a robot lander called the Surveyor, this like automatic probe that landed by a crater and did some tests, and it just sat there on the moon. So Apollo 12, its mission was to land as close as possible to the Surveyor. And then the two astronauts, Pete Conrad and Alan Bean, walked across to where the Surveyor was. You could see it on the horizon. They walked to it, and they actually cut a little bit of the probe off and brought it back to Earth to show how being on the moon for however long it had been there had affected the metal and the components over that time. So there was human things that went to the moon that was brought back from the moon by Apollo 12. but none of the 6 Apollo missions that landed on the moon landed near another Apollo landing site.
Right, okay. So they didn't find a spoon or leave a spoon. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
I don't know what the situation are with spoons on the moon, because I know when they would take off from the moon, they had to get the weight of the lunar module down as much as possible to take off. So they would throw their boots out the door. They threw all their excrement and that were in bags and were thrown out the door onto the moon before they took off. Oh. So if they were using any spoons to eat their food in their couple of days on the moon, sometimes it's possible they throw spoons out onto the moon as well. Maybe there are spoons on the moon.
Wow. Like boots and spoons just laying there on the moon. Gosh.
Amazing.
We just litter everything we touch, don't we, humans? We do. There's Coke cans just laying there.
Anyway, that's a nice spoon, Tim. Wherever it came from, whether it came from the tip where Chris got his trophy from, or whether it was brought back from Singapore, or what happened, nonetheless, it is an impressive spoon.
I must say, my dad was pretty good at finding cool stuff at the tip and bringing it back too.
Is that where you got most of your sports trophies from?
That's right. That's right. So I was surprisingly good at ice hockey, even though it was... I remember one night at trophy night, right, when I played football at like under 12s, under 14 sort of age, and I remember I never won one of the special trophies like best and fairest and, you know, those sorts of ones.
Right.
Just the normal clutter that everyone else... Yeah, I know. Even, I mean, I did, but I just took them and threw them on the tip.
But just gave them to Chris.
I just won a, you know, they just give out, you know, like little trophies to everyone else because you actually played that year. But I remember Dad was so proud because the coach on trophy night, when I was getting up to receive my just ordinary, you know, also ran kind of trophy.
Participation award type thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the one that everyone got. And but Dad was so proud because the coach stopped and made like a special mention of that I was such a nice guy. Like, and he said, he goes, he's just always at training on time. And he goes, time and again, I'd put him on the bench and he wouldn't complain. And and I look back now and I'm like, hang on, you didn't need to say that, did you? Like, it's... Dad was just so proud, you know.
Maybe your dad thought, like, the bench was a position, like full forward.
Keeps going up to the coach and saying, hey, how about you move my son to bench, you know? The coach is like, all right, Mr. Hine, Jim.
Don't have to ask me twice.
That's right. Oh, dear. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, thus ends Spoon
of the Week. There'll be a link. We have a webpage now on the Unmade podcast website that has all the spoons that Tim's ever had on Spoon of the Week, so you can go and have a look at the gallery. It's quite the collection. You got to get a rack. You should have a rack on the wall at home, and once a spoon has been featured on Spoon of the Week, it goes onto the rack.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I'm not just a pretty face.
I might even do it at the office so people can come and visit it and stuff and see it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, have it at the church. That could get your church visitor numbers up as well. You should have it in the main, like, body of the church, like under one of the stained glass windows.
Yeah, so people come and, like, pray with it and stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I know the Bible says something about false idols or something, but it didn't mention spoons.
Spoons? No.
It didn't, rule out spoons.
I actually wondered about a podcast idea called Last Will and Testament, where people come on and basically read out their will. They read out what they've decided to do with their stuff. And there'll be a few requirements on this. So when guests come onto the podcast, there's a few requirements. That is, they have to list a few, maybe 3 key possessions that they're going to specifically allot to a particular person. And they've got to say what they are. Where does this precious thing come from?
Yeah.
Why it matters a lot to them and why it's going to this particular person after they pass.
So we're not going to go into, like, their details of their finances and their money and stuff like that.
No, that's right. That's right. We wouldn't be doing an audit. No, it would be
because when you're a kid, isn't it? That's when you're a kid and you think of wills. You think that's all it is, isn't it? You think it's just a big list of this book goes to John.
Yeah.
This lamp goes to Fred. Like, not all the boring financial stuff.
And I've dealt with a few wills, from my parents, and we've done one for us. And you know that it's pretty much just all about the whole lot going somewhere and who, and it's very dry. But I like the idea of having the sort of the rich distant aunt who says this thing goes over here and this goes over there. And
this is a great idea, Tim, for a podcast. Leaving who you're leaving your things to. I love it. And you know what? Even a decent name. I don't know what's going on with you today, but you did the ad. You did the ad yourself. Now you're coming up with good ideas. I don't know what's going on. The only thing I think is going to happen now is you're going to have ballsed up the recording and the whole thing's going to be missing.
That's right. Actually, this counter should be moving, shouldn't it? I'm going to need my last will and testament if I stuff this up again.
It's like Mr. Snuffleupagus only turns up when no one's around. Tim only does a good podcast when it's not recording. If Tim does a good podcast in the forest and no one records it, did it really happen?
Mr. Snuffleupagus. How old were you when you realised that Big Bird was the only one that could see Mr. Snuffleupagus along with us?
Oh no, I was well aware of it. I found it endlessly frustrating.
Oh no. I think I only found that out very late, but that's brilliant. Yeah. That's good.
So before we get into a few examples and bits and pieces, Tim, for this excellent idea of yours, can I ask, is there anything of mine that you would like?
Oh.
If I die, is there anything you'd like me to leave you?
Oh, that's a good idea. Do you still have that lightsaber that you bought?
Yeah.
That place on Grote Street?
Yeah, I'm looking right at it right now.
Oh, yeah, I want that. That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I talk about that all the time. Yeah.
That appeared in our life at a time when, we were massively into sort of going into that retro phase where we're buying back all the Star Wars stuff that we'd thrown out when we were kids. But no one else was into Star Wars stuff yet. It was still the sort of, mid-90s and the hype wasn't back. So just finding that was just, it was overwhelming, wasn't it?
I remember because we coveted it in the window. I've talked about it before on various podcast people, but for those who don't know, it was this replica of the Return of the Jedi lightsaber that Luke Skywalker has. It was homemade by a guy in Adelaide, I think, on like a lathe or something, but it looks just like, and it's steel and it's really lovely. And we coveted it through the window of this comic book store in Adelaide. I remember when I got my first proper job at the Advertiser newspaper, I actually had like real money. Like, it was, looking back at it now, it was like chicken feed. But for me, I felt like I was a millionaire all of a sudden. And this thing cost, I don't know, $100, $200. I can't remember, but it seemed like a lot of money at the time. And I remember going home and just agonising over it and saying to Dad, I really want it and I've got the money, I could afford it now. And he says, well, just go and buy it. And I literally got on the bus into town just to buy the lightsaber. Got on the bus, walked in, asked him to get it out of the window, gave him the money. I couldn't believe I was doing it. And then walked back to the bus stop and caught the bus home with this lightsaber in my hands in a bag. And I couldn't believe I'd bought it. It was like the first extravagant purchase of my life. It was the first time I bought something that cost, over $100 with my own money. And I still have it to this day. Like, things have come and gone out of my life, possessions I've had and lost and sold and thrown away. But I just can't part with this. And everywhere I've lived in the world, I'm in England now and it's still here with me on display on a shelf.
Oh, it's great. It's been with you like that so long that when I was last there a few years ago and I saw it, I felt nostalgic. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Not from Star Wars, just like, from years ago.
It's Brady's lightsaber.
Yeah, I'm glad you've still got it. It's Brady's lightsaber, that's right.
Yeah, all right.
That's cool.
You can have that.
Yeah.
You can have that.
Oh, that's great. Is there anything of mine that you want?
Yes, I want your swimming carnival medal. And then I'm going to throw it into a volcano just to see what happens. That's probably it.
All right. What about the Fanta shorts? Do you want the Fanta shorts?
Where are they still around?
Yes, the Fanta shorts. In fact, the medal is sitting on the Fanta shorts in a tub.
I don't know.
Tub.
In my head, I imagine you being buried in the Fanta shorts.
We're going to bury him in a pair of pants.
Then again, it's probably in your will to be buried wearing that medal too, so...
Oh, no, that's far too precious. The grave robbers will come. It'll be like Egypt all over again. 1,000 years from now, it'll be like Tutankhamun, you'll be able to go to a museum and there's there's mummified Tim and there's the Fanta shorts and there's the medal that we found around his neck.
No, it'd be like, what? Why is he not wearing the famous medal that we've read so much about? Oh, the grave robbers took that almost straight away.
That's right. It's a black market.
Yeah. Tell me more about things. Has anything specific ever been left to you in a will?
Not like that, no. No, nothing. I've never received a particular item. Things have kind of been passed down, and that's probably one item that immediately came to mind when I thought about, what would I do with some of my stuff? Like I've got I wear a couple of rings, and they're pretty sort of chunky, I guess, sort of 70s rings in a way. And one of them was given, like it was for my grandfather. And when he died, he gave it to my mum and said, look, give this to whoever marries you. And then she met and married Dad. And so Dad wore it for many years. And then when I got my first degree, he gave me that. And I think that's pretty cool. So it's kind of handed down that way, but not in a will, which is kind of, the point of this podcast. Have you ever had a lawyer call up out of the blue and say,
No.
a distant aunt has got this? Or
No, I don't think I have. I'd be interested to hear if any civilians have. Like if anyone's had anything specific left to you, go onto like the subreddit or, drop us an email or tweet or something. I do want to hear about these, but no, I've never got one specifically. Have you itemised anything in your will? Obviously, I'm sure there's, broad brush stuff to do with your wife and your kids and that, but are there any specific things like that in your will?
No, nothing is itemised.
No.
Not that I can remember. No, not specifically. Because to itemise it means that you don't want... It has to go away from where the rest of your estate is going. And the estate's all sort of going in one direction. So I don't think I have...
So there's no like little object for a friend or something, or you haven't got some friend of yours that you've been friends with since high school who's special enough to you to have thought about to leave something in your will or something?
Well, obviously I'll have to tell the lawyer to adjust it now for the medal for you, yes. But do you want, I've got all the Rolling Stone magazines from the 90s. Do you want them as well?
No.
Just
the medal.
Okay.
Imagine if you contact your lawyer and say, I've got this friend called Brady Harron, and you give him my details and say, because I want to give him this medal. And your lawyer misinterprets the call or the email, and I become the sole beneficiary of everything. And I swoop in.
Well, there is... What do you... Just eBay everything bit by bit. It's like the Tim Hine estate's coming onto eBay. Have you heard? Yeah. Sotheby's.
Buy it now, $50.
Get the whole lot, including the guitar that the performance was played.
Guitar,
Money for Nothing was played on. Yeah.
Oh, that solo. Yeah, of course.
No. I just happen to be looking at it. It's right here, so that's what it's. We really do walk into these things, don't I?
Do you curse it? Do you curse it every day when you look at it?
No, it's cursed enough already.
It cursed you.
It was born cursed. This is like something from Tutankhamun. It's cursed. It's everywhere I go. It's I've got a few tubs of things in the room I'm in, which has stuff in it because from when we moved. Did I mention that we'd moved house? So I'm looking through into the clear tubs and going, is there anything there? A couple of old hard drives, a few old iPhones there, man. Would you like those?
Lots of cables, lots of old charging cables.
Lots of cables.
Can you leave me
I know you like cables.
Is there anything of yours that you think about, say you were to die, because you probably will sometime.
I will one day.
Is there anything of yours that you're sad, will probably get thrown away? That you think should be kept forever, but deep down, one day your girls are just going to throw it in a tip?
Probably some books. I have a lot of books.
Yeah.
Probably 1,000 at work and 1,000 at home. And it's partly just because I think I've spent too much money over the years on them. So I sort of feel like they're worth something. And I want to go on believing they're worth something because of the investment that I've made in them.
Yeah.
But I know that at the end of the day, they're not... Oh, books are only worth anything to the person who wants them. So there's a few C.S. Lewis first edition things. I've mentioned this before, and they're kind of precious. But they might keep a few of those. I don't know. But I like to think they'll be treasured, but they won't be. No.
Right.
There's a few bits of art around the place that I really love, that are signed and nice signed prints and things like that. But I think they'll be kind of treasured. I think my daughters will like those.
I also hope your daughters will be savvy enough to figure out what things are worth money and don't just throw your C.S. Lewis first edition in the tip with your, boring, Heroes of Richmond Football Club book or something.
Yeah, where Chris could just come along and steal it and bring it home.
By the way, Chris, if you're listening, can you please amend your will to leave me that trophy that you found at the dump at that time?
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome.
I wonder if he threw that away eventually and it went back to the dump.
Whether it's still like at his mum's. Yeah. She just is blissfully unaware that this is not something that he didn't win. What about you? Do you have, if you were on this podcast, do you have an item or two that you'd want to hopefully go to a particular person?
I do wonder what's going to happen to my 7 scrapbooks of all my articles that were in the Advertiser. Like every story I ever wrote. Like, I imagine that's going to end up in the tip pretty quick. I mean, I think most of my stuff's going to end up in the tip pretty quickly.
When I was there, you had a Lego Millennium Falcon you hadn't built yet. If you still haven't built that by the time you die, I'll love that.
Yeah. If I do die soon, by the way, make sure you get in touch with my wife quick, because I reckon you've got less than a week until she throws everything away. So get on the phone. It's say your nice things and your supportive words, but then very quickly get in what you want to keep.
It's just like, while we're talking, can you just flip the camera around on FaceTime and show me what's there? Look, that.
And then once they've been earmarked, still make sure you get over here quick.
Are you constantly being subtly encouraged to clear things out a little bit, are you?
Subtly is not the word I would use, but let's put it this way. I now have an offsite storage unit that I visit once a week or so just to put more stuff in, and it's absolutely full to the rafters of all that sort of stuff. That's where my Millennium Falcon is, for example.
Right, yep. That's it. That's where all grown men put their unmade Lego boxes in storage.
Go forward enough, and eventually I will have more stuff in that unit than I do. In fact, I probably have, in terms of things that are just my possessions, that are purely me and are not joint, I probably have more of my stuff there than I do in the house.
Yeah, pretty soon you'll just start sleeping there and then eating there.
Well, I don't know. If it was heated...
And that's where you'll live. It's where all the cool stuff is. That's where you just go and play there, like it's your playroom.
There is a lot of podcast related paraphernalia there.
Yeah, right. Well, I tell you, the one thing I have to really think about, and this is probably something that is worthy of more consideration, like thoughtful consideration, is who am I going to leave the spoons to? I imagine
that was a deliberate cough. That was a deliberate cough, man.
Oh, right. Was it? Okay. I actually have an idea. I mean, there's a sense by which I can see my daughters going to court to fight over them, but to avoid anything messy like that, I actually wondered if I could itemise in my will that they be distributed one apiece to all the Patreon supporters.
Man,
can you imagine the lawyer just looking down and going, "Oh dear, we got to send one of these."
Man, you don't want to give the patrons an incentive to end your life prematurely, man. You're starting to insecurity.
He's worth more to us dead than alive.
Once they see that Singapore spoon, I'm really going to fear for your life.
And it's like, but we're killing the golden goose. Then the podcast will end and be like, don't worry, Brady's got a whole list of backups ready to go.
I wonder if anyone's ever included Patreon supporters in their will.
That's great, isn't it? If they have,
I mean,
take it seriously.
I mean, it's thoughtful and it's nice. And don't get me wrong, I love the Patreon supporters, but I think maybe that's like the world of online has gone too far. Then,
if you're overlooking your own family members, your own children. It's like that situation where the kids, after the funeral sit down with a lawyer and find out that like $1 million been left to the cat. Yeah. It's one of those sorts of situations.
The Patreon supporters are your cat. I imagine that they all come along to the reading to see what they've been left. One by one.
His fleet of Aston Martins has been left to viewer 456 on YouTube. Let's go.
Speaking of which, it has been such a long time since we did an idea from a Patreon supporter.
Yeah.
I feel like we should quickly do one. So let's do a quickie.
Please.
So here's an idea submitted by a Patreon supporter called Jason. He starts by saying, "Hello, Brady and Tim. My name is Jason. By the way, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Jason's my favourite name in the world. I wish I was called Jason. I'm not.
I was about to interrupt and point that out. That's right. It's your fantasy name.
It's my fantasy name. One day. Jason says, I'm an American expat currently living in Turkey. I'm currently sitting on the porch of a villa on the Mediterranean coast. People who wonder why I live in Turkey usually have no conception of how beautiful it is here. Picture attached. My idea for a podcast comes from the good old days of talk radio. There used to be shows where people would call into experts in cars or gardens or home renovations and ask their questions. I think it would be fun to reverse it. I'd like to hear a podcast where experts who have seriously hard problems in their field call in to non-experts and explain their problem and ask for advice. It would obviously not be so much about solving the problem, but learning about various fields and the current challenges in the field. And sometimes non-experts can give a perspective on a problem that people who are immersed in a field can't see. That's my idea. Thanks for the podcast. I think this is a fantastic idea, Tim.
It is, yes.
A podcast where experts come on and talk about things they can't solve, and then you have all the viewers submit their ideas about this problem. What a great idea.
Oh, I have idea envy. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are crowdsourcing in a way too, aren't you? Because, you know, if you ask enough people, maybe someone's just going to have that idea you haven't thought of.
And it's always the one where someone in the room says, oh, this might be a stupid question. I'm just a novice. And then they ask something and everyone goes, oh, that is a really great perspective. What a great question. What a great perspective.
You get the little girl who says, you know, just let the air out of the tyres to get the truck under the bridge. Those kind of moments.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good idea. I have to say, just to pull up on one other detail as well, it sounds absolutely beautiful where Jason is. We do have the Grand Prix was in Istanbul last week, and I say it looks pretty incredible. Have you ever been to Turkey?
I have not. I do want to go to Istanbul quite a lot, but also, I mean, I think it's the coastal parts of Turkey where all the Brits go on holiday. It's got some really beautiful coastal places.
I would also love to go. Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, let's go together, man.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go and sit and meet your fantasy man, Jason.
Meet Jason. Yeah.
And just see the sea breeze. It's obviously good for the mind. Ideas like that coming out. This could be an idea retreat where we just went away and had good ideas.
Well, Tim, I mean, you are an expert on theology and like Bible scholar stuff and all that.
That's correct. Yes.
Is there any problem or something you've got at the moment that you'd like to put to the audience? Like that, is this something you can't solve, or just sort of theology and sort of scholarliness of the Bible have its version of like the Riemann hypothesis, or, you know, a cure to cancer, or some big problem or question that everyone wishes they could solve, like, you know, being able to read hieroglyphs and stuff like that? Or are most of the problems in your field more, you know, of the mind and to do with opinions and, you know, ideas rather than a black or white answer?
Well, there are different perspectives on things, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Christian theology grows out of history, out of events, and out of the biblical texts and pieces of, fragments of text.
But is there a piece of paper like that no one can read because it's written in a strange language, or like a missing page of a document that if you had that page, it would, you know, answer lots of questions? Is there some gold nugget waiting to be found, or is it not like that?
There's a speculated document or documents called the Q documents, and that is, like, in the Bible, there are 4 Gospels, 4 tellings of Jesus' life. Yeah. And the first one is quite short. It's called the Gospel according to Mark. Mark wrote it. Yeah. And it's the first one written. And then you've got, you know, Matthew and Luke that were written later. And they kind of have the stuff from Mark, but then they have other stuff too. Yeah. And so the question is always, particularly from Matthew, where did he get that stuff? From his own memory, or does he get it from some other document? So there's kind of like, they're called Q documents. They're sort of, do these documents exist? Are they other text, other fragments?
So was there some extra source material that Matthew was drawing on that we don't know about.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So we don't know that. So but I'm not nowhere near a biblical scholar, like at all. But that's just one thing I know. So there are lots of things we don't know, but
Oh, I like the sound of these Q documents, man. Do you know what?
Yeah.
We should say that there's a Q episode of the Unmade podcast that no one's ever heard, but it's really important, and we should just allude to it all the time. The Q episode.
The Q episode, there's like in-jokes in it.
Just build up some hype. Like, oh, you would understand this podcast so much more if you'd heard the Q episode.
Yeah, we could start referring to... Well, the point would be we start referring to in-jokes from the Q that we never reference where they come from.
Imagine that. Just build up all this excitement and hype, and then like one day in a few years, you just like say we're releasing the Q episode on Friday. And everyone's like, oh my God.
Here it is. Yes. Yeah. Like Prince's Black Album or something. Just, or Smile by the Beach Boys. It's like been there all along and we've never heard it. And here it comes. Yes.
The Q episode. Anyway, Jason nailed the idea.
But that's not really... I mean, it's a great idea, but it doesn't... I like the idea more about opinions, because obviously no one's going to call in and say, oh, I just happen to have a copy of the Q documents here at home. Like,
or I've solved the Riemann hypothesis
magazines.
for you or something. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna pretend I know what the Riemann hypothesis is at this point in the podcast.
Well, I've been pretending for years and no one's called me on it yet, so...
You've made YouTube clips on it.
I have. I've made complete videos about it, and I probably couldn't explain it if I tried. It's to do with prime numbers.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. Well...
At least I pretended to be interested in the Q documents.
But you asked me a specific question. I didn't lead it there.
And I did make a whole YouTube video series about the books of the Bible.
That's right. Yes. You have no doubt heard of the Q documents before.
I've actually seen them.
You've got them. They're in storage with the Millennium Folk. Your wife's like, I don't want these laying around. I want this. All right. Well, man, if you do have them, if you could leave them to me in your will, that would be most appreciated.
I'll do it.
And I'll pass them on to
I'll do it.
to those who will do good things with it.
Cool. All good for you? No secret words?
Oh, heck. Oh dear.
I'm taking that as a yes.
Now, just let me think back and see if they fit in. No, they're not anywhere. No, it's just a failure. We won't do it. It's just a... Oh, well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
They're in the Q documents. That's where they're in the Q episode.
They're in the Q episode.
They were mentioned.
If you want to know what the secret words are for today's episode, you have to refer back to the Q episode.